Okay, chapter 5, day section 6, day 2. Um, Starting off with the domain and the range of these cube roots, I just want to talk a little bit about cube root. You could type this into your calculator to see what it looks like. You can take the cube root of negatives. Please remember that. The cube root of, so for example, uh, you can't take the square root of a negative. We spent half of a chapter on that. But you can take the cube root of like -8. The answer is -2. What do you multiply together 3 times to get -8? So since you can take the cube root of negatives, when we're talking domain and range here, we're talking all real numbers. We're talking negative infinity to infinity. And then the graphs of these things kind of look, the parent function kind of looks like that if you're on your axis. This one would be 5 right and 1 up, or 5 left and 1 up based on h and k, so it'd look like this. But as we go to the right, we're going up. As we go to the left, we're going down for the domain and the range. So these are the same rules that we had yesterday. With isolate the radical, and then you raise to a power. If you've got a cube root, you cube it. A square root, you square it. Got to watch out for extraneous roots, okay? So we start off with this first one, and this is very similar to, we did one like this yesterday towards the end, but it is important. Whoa. It is important. Whoa. It is important that we square both sides, and when we square both sides, we need to remember that we are going to get t squared plus 6t plus 9. We need to be squaring these things. Square that, multiply them together and double it. Square that. If you don't know where that comes from, again, go off to the side and do t plus 3 times t plus 3. I move these things over now. I'm subtracting, and I get 0 equals t squared plus 5t plus 4, and lo and behold, that is factorable. What do you multiply together to get 4? Add together to get 5. It's positive 4 and positive 1. Set them both equal to 0 and solve, and I get t is -4, and I get t is -1. Okay, and these ones, it is so important that we check our work, because as I go up here and say the square root of -4 plus 5, is that equal to -4 plus 3? You already should be saying this is going to be a red flag, because it's the square root of 1 equals -1, and that's 1 equals -1, and that's not true. And -4 is an extraneous solution. We just X it out. You do not need to erase that part of the problem. It's part of the problem, but we did it fine. Check your -1 plus 5 equals -1 plus 3. This one looks better. Is the square root of 4, nice looking 3 there. Ew, ick. Is the square root of 4 equal to 2? Yes. So my answer is here, -1. So similar to yesterday, just a little bit extra there for you. A little bit, look at this guy right here. So whenever you've got multiple radicals, if you have multiple radicals, the first thing we want to pay attention to is that you want the uglier look. You don't have to, but you'd like to, what the, boy, oh boy. Technology fun. You'd like to, I thought I changed that to blue. You'd like to isolate the uglier looking one. Okay, so isolate this. I thought I changed it to blue again. We're going with red. Okay, so we want that one by itself. Just kind of makes your life a little bit easier. So now when we square both sides, I get x plus 5. Now you got to be careful here. Equals. Square the -1. +1. Multiply the two terms together and double it. That's plus 2 square root x. and then square the back term, that's plus x. And now when I go to solve, I move the x over, and I'm gonna isolate the radical again. Well, looky here. I get 4 equals 2 root x. So I'm working to get this by itself again, and I get the square root of x is 2. Square both sides, x is 4. Go back up into the original problem and check your work. Check your work. Oh, I want to go here. That's my issue. Okay. Okay. This guy, blue. Plug it in. 4 plus 5. Is that equal to negative 1 minus the square root of 4? So I get the square root of 9 is 3. Is that equal to negative 1 minus 2 or negative 3? And the answer is no, it doesn't work. So the answer to this one is no solution. If you look up here, the square root of x plus 5 was always going to be a positive number. Negative 1 minus a positive number was always going to be a negative number. So we could have kind of had a prediction that this was going to happen before we even started. Okay, I got a cube root here now. I got a cube root, so we want to be careful. We want to isolate that guy right there. And again, 3y plus 1 to the 1/3 is equal to negative 5. Now, if this was a square root, remember, raising to the 1/3 is the same thing as a cube root. So I'm actually going to cube both sides. I'm taking both sides to the third and to the third, and we are allowed to have a cube root of a negative, so we're fine here. And again, when we check our work, we'll see if anything went wrong. And I get negative 125 minus 1 minus 1, 3y equals negative 126. Oh no, grab your calculator. Y equals 42. Oh, it's negative. Negative 42. I get negative 42. Check your work. 3 times negative 42 plus 1, all to the 1/3 plus 5. That's negative 126 plus 1 to the 1/3 plus 5. Negative 1, this doesn't like when I write fast, negative 125 to the 1/3 plus 5. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0. It checks out. The answer is negative 42. Same thing here. We add 3 to both sides. Add 3 to both sides. Magenta. Again, 2y plus 1. Again, the power of 1/3 is the same as a cube root. Like, this could have been this problem, right? And now I cube both sides. Cube both sides. 2y plus 1 equals 27. 2y is 26. Y is 13. Check your work. 26 plus 1 is 27. 27 to the 1/3 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 1. It's good to go. Another one, except this is a negative again. Please keep in mind that. Please keep in mind. Jeez, so much trouble. Please keep in mind the minus 2, 6u minus 5 to the 1/3 is negative 5. Again, you can take the cube root and get a negative. You can take an odd root and get a negative. You cannot take an even root and get a negative. Very important. 6u is negative 120. U is negative 20. So put your negative 20 up in here. You get your negative 120 minus 5, negative 125. You get your negative 5 to the 1, or negative 125 to the 1/3. Again, that's negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. It works. Oh, and now we got a 6th root. Please note, I would not be able to be a negative here. It's an even root. So again, we're gonna whoops, that's a 6th root. Big difference than 6 times. I'm gonna move the 4 over and get 14. I'm gonna divide by 7. I'm gonna get the 6th root of 5m plus 4 equals 2. And now how do you undo something that is a 6th root? You take her to the power of 6. 5m plus 4 equals, holy cow, power of 6. That must be, that's 64. I think it is 64. And now we get 5m equals 60. M is 12. Check your work. 12 times 5 is 60. Plus 4 is 64. The 6th root of 64 is 2 times 7 is 14. Minus 4 is 10. Cha-ching! Good to go. Sometimes you might end up with a radical. Okay, so these ones, now we got to go back to, we might have to factor, square it. 2 minus y is y squared. I'd leave the y squared on the right-hand side. I would add the y over and subtract the 2 over, and now I would plus 2 minus 1. Again, these ones where we end up with 2 answers, you really got to check your work, because if I go up here and say 2 minus negative 2, that's 0. Is the square root of 0? Oh, wait. That's 2 minus negative, that's 4. That's the square root of 4. Is that equal to negative 2? Well, it's not. It's not. Those don't work. Negative 2 doesn't work because I get a positive equal to a negative. 2 minus 1 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1 is equal to 1. So the answer is y equals 1. Please watch out for extraneous solutions. When I do one like this, I would move this over. I would move this over. So I would solve for this one before I squared both sides. And now when I square both sides, I get n plus 9 equals square the first term, multiply them together and double it. There's together, square root of 3n, double it times 2. Square the last term. Oh my goodness, look what's going to happen here. We're minusing n, we're minusing 9. 0 equals 2 square root of 3n. Well, the only thing n can be here is 0. We could keep going. Divide by 2 is 0. Squared is 0. Divide by 3 is 0. n equals 0. Check your work. The square root of 9 minus the square root of 0 is 3. It works. That's an ugly looking 0. That's even worse. The answer is 0. There it is. So you can work on those guys for that one, and yeah, have a great day.